What's going on, everybody? Dustin Hawks here with Guild Mortgage. Listen, tonight we have a very special program that we're bringing to you because we all really care about our industry and we care about you, the consumer. Home ownership rates are at an all-time low, and it's not because people don't want to buy a home, it's because they don't know how or if they can. You're going to hear from the pros tonight on what you can really do and make you very comfortable getting that home that so many people we deal with every day, we know their struggles, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm just going to let them introduce themselves.
Go ahead, Janet.
I'm Janet Butel with Keller Williams Linear Partners, and I'm working with Greg.
And I'm Greg Willis, also with Keller Williams Linear Partners. We are here live from beautiful Tenured Oaks in downtown Cumming, Georgia. Love it here, right up from the square. And we appreciate y'all being here. We're looking forward to answering your questions, helping you identify and resolve your concerns that you may have, and get you into the great thing of home ownership. Russ?
My name is Russ Petersen. I'm actually a real estate attorney. I've been at it for 30 years. I've helped tens of thousands of people realize their dream in buying a home. And I have two different offices, one in Gainesville, Georgia, and one here in Cumming. And I'm here to answer any questions that might come up that you might have about the actual closing on the property that you will be purchasing.
Fantastic. So we just want to jump right into it. I know a lot of you see Facebook Live and they just chit-chat, but we're going to bring you the facts and bring you the meat and potatoes of all this. So we've done thousands of deals together, thousands and thousands. We always see a common theme with everybody is so many people can afford to buy a home, they just don't know they can. So we're just going to lay out the facts for you because there's so much, really just non-education in this industry. Would you all agree?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And how many times y'all have a customer, you answer the same questions over and over and over?
You know, there are a lot of common fears that many of us have when buying a home. Many think, absolutely, myself as well. Many think, well, gee, I can't afford a down payment. But there are options where a down payment is minimal or none at all.
And I want to point out the number up here, the 470-239-1522. At any time you can call in. We have live operators to take your questions, or you can comment below on the Facebook at any time. And we'll also reach out to you after the event if you want to talk privately with one of the pros here. So, Rick, one of the things I see is when people want to buy a home is they're renting and they think, no way I can buy a home. And in today's market, home ownership is so low that the people that own all these apartment complexes know that, and that's why you guys see your rent coming up. And I guarantee you some of you opened your mailbox today and said, your rent's going up. Did you agree?
You know, you remind me of a story. I had a client recently who I met. She was looking at a 2-bedroom, 1-bath home, 900 square feet, that was available for rent for $1,100. Through a conversation with her, meeting with a lender, that lady has now left the rental market, and she purchased a home, a nice 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath townhome, and her mortgage, her principal, interest, taxes, and insurance is cheaper than that $1,100 2-bedroom, 1-bath rental home. So yes, and she thought she couldn't buy it.
Speaking of payments and all that, I just want to get right into it. I want to show you guys how cheap these homes can really be for you. Now we got some fancy stuff here. Check it out. So all of these payments are based on worst case scenario, higher taxes, higher insurance, because I want you to know worst case. On a $150,000 purchase price, what size home are we looking at? Let's just say around here.
You know, probably 12 to 1,600 square feet.
That's amazing.
3-bedroom, 2-bath,
Yeah.
depending on the area of the county.
So your total payment on that, you're looking at worst case, taxes, insurance, everything, $1,050 a month. And all you need, I always get a question, Dustin, what is a great down payment? These are just FHA figures at 3.5% down. We do USDA 100% financing, VA 100% financing, conventional 1% down. This is worst case, like I said. You only need $5,000, $5,250 to be exact, to get into that house, because my man Greg here and his team can negotiate all the closing costs and prepaids in the deal, where you only have to get your down payment. So a lot of you that are paying around $1,000 a month, I can tell you right here, we're going to post some homes right now in the comments that are around the 150 mark. And I just want you to take a look at these photos And compare it to your situation right now in your one-bedroom apartment that's 600 square feet.
In some of those homes, some buyers in that price range may go with a 1% down or the U.S. Department of Agriculture, which is 100% financing.
Yep.
They may write a check for $500 earnest money check when they submit the offer. And many times at Russ's closing table, they're getting a refund back because we have negotiated where seller pays those closing costs. And with small down payment,
Absolutely.
we're getting money back at the closing table.
And here's the best thing about when you buy a home is your first mortgage payment isn't due. You skip a month. So
Yes, it's
anything
like a
you
month
close
free.
in August, it ain't due till October.
Mhm.
So a lot of people that you have a lease that are on the 2 and 3 month mark, you can schedule it where you can pay your month's rent and the next month nothing and your mortgage. So at 200,000, what are you looking at around here?
You know, more square footage home.
Yeah.
Possibly you're getting in, or very likely, you're getting into homes with nice neighborhoods, swim, tennis club.
Yeah.
So much more nicer home.
So on 200,000, you're probably, depending on tax and insurance, looking around 1,200 to 1,400 worst case. And you would need $7,000 at 3.5% down, which can be a gift. Like I said, you can call in, comment, and we'll teach you more about that. We just want to teach you the meat and potatoes tonight.
That gift that you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
I've had experiences with buyers who may not have the full down payment, but perhaps mom and dad or
Employer,
aunt, uncle,
mom,
even
dad,
could be
family.
anyone, can
So many options.
gift that to the buyer.
We could spend a whole class on talking about down payment. So reach out to us as you see these homes. And we already have pricing flyers worked out with every scenario that we'll just email right back to you. So 250,000, I mean, you're moving up here.
Yeah, again, your
Yeah.
square footage is probably going
Yeah.
2,000, 2,500 square feet
Mhm.
in a very nice neighborhood.
300, I mean, we're almost in the country club.
Yes, absolutely.
Larger lots.
So I'm going to leave this up here for now to let you guys look at it. A lot of people see the 300, the 250, the 150, and think, Dustin, Greg, no one's going to give me that much money. I've applied for a credit card at the store. They turned me down for a $200 credit card. And why that is we just went through a credit, 07, 08 happened, went through a credit crisis. They just don't want to lend it out. I'm telling you right now, it's probably easier to qualify for a mortgage than to get that $200 credit card.
I had a gentleman recently who really was leasing an apartment and felt he knew he couldn't afford a home. I introduced him to Guild Mortgage, and within a few hours of meeting, he had his pre-approval, and he is now under contract to buy a home, moving in the next 3 weeks. So he's going from leasing an apartment to moving in his own home within a very short time frame.
That's awesome. Some of the other common things I see on my end are as down payment, like I said, 0% if you're in the military, serve in the military, USDA, which is very popular up in this area, which is 0 down. You have your FHA, was 3.5% down, can be a gift, and you have your conventional loan products that are 1% or more. We'll actually give you we have a loan program, believe it or not, we'll actually pay you to go in the house. You put 1% down, and we will give you 2% equity, so you'll move in with a 3% down in the home.
That's great.
I mean, it can't get any better than that. What I found out is you can afford a home. Buying a home is a lot like leasing a home, right? So leasing nowadays, I guarantee you got your credit pulled. All we do now is verify that income, except instead of a security deposit, you need a down payment. But here's the thing. You actually can get your security deposit, your down payment back when you sell the home and those things. Another question I always get, obviously, is credit. Credit it's a lot like the law. I mean, how big can the book be, right? So I would say if you have at least a 580 and up, give us a call. We can get you there. We help out so many people that have been turned down by a bank or someone else or someone that just wouldn't give you the time of day, as you all know. Give us a call. I promise you, we'll take great care of you if you're at that 580 mark. And if you're even close to it, give us a call anyways, because we want to give you that plan to get you there.
What I've found is you and your expertise can help people better understand their credit score and things to fix. Maybe there's bad information, maybe there's medical data, maybe just things that aren't clear to us when we look at our credit report. And I'm sure that Dustin and the team can help.
If you've heard no before, listen. I've studied so many successful people. They heard no about 3,000 times before they heard a yes. What's going to hurt you to hear another opinion? Couldn't agree more. And speaking about caring about you guys, any of y'all that call or comment, we're going to do some giveaways. We got a book on your first home purchase that Greg's going to do. I'm going to give you this new book I read from Tony Robbins, Unshakable. Amazing book. I wish I would have known about this 10 years ago. It's just about saving money. I think people, the millennials, they're just not really educated on a lot. You know, they've been in their phones their whole life. They haven't experienced life. And this is just something I wish I knew. So anyone that comments or calls in, free book for you guys.
Well, something about things that millennials don't understand. I'm working with a couple of millennials right now.
Yeah.
I'm looking for their first home.
Not through the phone though, right? Just texting?
No, not through the phone. Actually, we do a lot of texting in the process and lots of emojis. So one of the things that has come up, a new word in the field, is due diligence. And due diligence is something that I've worked with older buyers going, what is that? What is due diligence? And what does that mean? Greg, you want to help us out?
Sure, due diligence, and normally that's 10 to 15 days after someone goes under contract. And that's the time frame for you, the buyer, to do inspections, to have, hopefully, would recommend a professional come in to inspect the home, make sure the home is structurally sound, the systems are working. Another thing I tell folks, Russ, is during that due diligence period, you can back out, cancel your contract, terminate, get your earnest money back for any reason or no reason at all.
No reason at all. Due diligence isn't based on any issues or problems. Due diligence is entirely your wild card. So if you think you want a home and determine somewhere within that due diligence period that there's something there that just doesn't sit right, it may not even be the right color, you can simply terminate the contract. So,
Good point, Janet. Thank you. Thank you.
We get a lot of calls on due diligence, and I promise you, if you're working with the right agent, they're going to inform you about all these things. A lot of people, Greg, when they buy a home, when they get through the mortgage process, now they got the pre-approval, they want to go find a home, right? Where they're just terrified because they heard all these bad stories about bought a home and the foundation cracked or the roof caved in or
Termites.
Or speak to a little about them about, you know, what you see. No one knows inside and out of home more than Greg. He has remodeled a bunch of homes. And
You know, I've got a couple of hats that I wear. As an agent, I represent buyers and sellers wanting to buy a home, move up, downsize. And then also wear another hat of buying and selling homes. Sometimes maybe called a problem solver. If someone has a need to sell their home off market, I'm able to purchase the home and then bring it back to life. Neighbors love me whenever they have a home, an ugly house in the neighborhood that is not being cared for, has been vacated. I'm able to go in and purchase that home at times and bring it back to life. So that's good for the neighborhood. That's the values. Just this year, we of course, as mentioned, I'm with Keller Williams Lanier Partners. Our Willis team has closed right at 45 transactions, so we've helped 45 families for right at around $8.59 million so far this year.
And that puts, to give you guys an idea of the consumer, that puts him in the top 1% of realtors, correct?
It's been good.
I'm bringing you the pros, not the Joes.
Very glad. But Jan and I are here to help you. We also have another team member, Jared Willis, who's down in Atlanta at school this evening. Yeah. But either of us would be glad to help you.
Jared.
So Teresa wants to know how a property tax is handled at closing.
Very good.
Question.
Well, it depends on the time of the year that you're buying and selling. But generally speaking, taxes come out at the end of the year for the year that has just passed. So if the seller is selling to you, and we know what last year's tax bill would be, we prorate those taxes, and we do that on the settlement documents that you would be signing at the closing table. So as a buyer, you would get a credit for the period of time between January 1st and your date of closing, and that actually ends up reducing your bottom line. Now at the end of the year, you would be responsible for the entire bill, but in most cases when you take out a loan, you would be escrowing for that, and that's handled entirely through your mortgage company. So that's how taxes are handled. We try to get a read on exactly what they are and prorate accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
Great question. Do us a favor, send us an email. Info is in the feed, I believe, and we'll get you more information on that. We've actually, great question. I've actually had at least 5 past clients this week send me their tax bill because they're all getting their tax bill this time of year.
That's
You
right.
mentioned an escrow account, so when you make those payments we told you about, your homeowner insurance and taxes is taken care of for you. The county will still send you the bill, but don't freak out. We're actually going to take care of that for you.
Ashley wants to know, does Guild offer government loans as well as conventional loans?
Absolutely. So there's so much misinformation out there about loan products, and I'll probably do a video about that. But you really have your 3 types of loans. You have your third-party loans, which is conventional, jumbo, hard money. Those are all your private sector mortgages. Then you have your government mortgage, which is FHA, USDA, VA. We do anything and everything, and we actually service 90% of our loans. The only ones we don't really service are the jumbos, to my knowledge. But I saw a report yesterday of this branch. We service 98% of loans. So absolutely, we do all those loans.
So just to help me understand,
Yeah.
with Guild Mortgage, the loan is under Guild Mortgage. You're not dependent on outside underwriters, outside
We don't
companies.
care about you for 30 days. We care about you for 30 years.
That's great.
Awesome.
Mhm.
So no outsourcing of your
Nope,
loans.
0. And it's fantastic. I was actually out in San Diego earlier this year, and we had to have a call center. They take in over 35,000 calls a month just in servicing.
Really?
Wow.
I was like, that's a lot of calls.
A lot of calls.
But yeah, another great question.
All right, Abby wants to know if she can use her 401k money as a down payment.
That's a great question. 401k, absolutely. They'll actually, your employer, what you'll do is send them a purchase contract and your loan estimate, and they will see how much you need for closing, and they'll let you take out that amount for closing. Where people get hung up on that is they wait the week of closing to pull out the money.
Mhm.
Go ahead and do it. I would say as soon as you have that purchase contract, go ahead and do it. It takes about a week because they're going to either send you a check or wire you the money, and you'll have to source it with your 401k plan and all that. But super easy. You just contact your HR department, your 401k department, and they'll handle it for you.
Many holders of 401k, like Fidelity, may also let you take out a loan from your 401k.
Mhm.
That way you avoid the tax consequences of doing it.
Absolutely.
So several options. But that 401k is certainly, can be an asset.
And a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think they don't have money for down payment, but if you've been working somewhere and have a 401k, you do. What's better than being invested in your 401k and your company matching and giving you a down payment?
Exactly.
Yep. Any more questions right now?
Let's see. Summer wants to know, someone who is young and doesn't have a long history of credit and work history, can they still get approved for a house loan?
Absolutely. So work history, I'll address that one first. You can use school as part of your work history. A lot of people don't know that. Work history is fine. A lot of people think that work history is a problem. The only time it really is a problem is when you have a lot of gaps of employment or you've changed jobs, 4 to 6 times in 12 months. So that is no problem. As far as the other question, credit, I tell people, Ray, sometimes no credit is better than having credit.
Yeah.
Because we can use alt credit, so we can use your cell phone bill, your car insurance, all that stuff to build your alternate credit. And one of the benefits of Guild Mortgage, we service our loans, is we can do loans with no credit score. Or no credit
Really?
score. Yep.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
that is very
Very
good.
Like I said, no credit's better than some credit.
Yeah.
And to touch on credit, a lot of people will say, Dustin, I have student loans. There's no way I can buy a house. That's not true because so many people have student loans. So what we do is, depending if you go conventional or FHA, we can use the income-based repayment for the student loans. Or in some programs, if you're deferred, we actually don't count it. There's a lot of things you can do. I could do a 7-day seminar on student loans. But just know if you have student loans, it doesn't disqualify you from getting a mortgage. And I would say some other credit things I get a lot, or I have medical collections. Guild Mortgage, we don't care about your medical collections at all. So that's, I would say, some myths going around out there. But yeah, great question.
Teresa wants to know, why didn't the courthouse show her as an owner when she closed on her house in April?
Oh,
That's excellent.
These are good technical questions. What happens is, and maybe this is a good time to talk about what does it look like to be the owner of property? To be the owner of property means that somebody has signed a deed, most likely a warranty deed, and given you the title in that deed. That deed is then recorded in the courthouse. So upon the recording of that piece of paper, which is a deed, it is now a matter of public record, and the ownership is finished. As a sidebar, a lot of people seem to think that that piece of paper is very, very valuable, needs to be put in a safe deposit box, needs to be treated as if it was a certificate of title like your car. That's not the case. In truth, that title, that piece of paper, once it gets to the courthouse, once it's recorded, it does not, you don't need that piece of paper any longer. It's a matter of public record. When we look into the title records, sometimes we go back into the 1800s. So these records have been kept and maintained for a long time. The reason that you would talk to the tax office and they would not show you as the owner of the property, even though you bought the property in April, is the tax office only updates its records once a year on January 1st. And this is pretty much across the board in the state of Georgia. So you could talk to the tax office and they tell you, no, we don't see that you're the owner, but there's no sense in having any type of problems with that, because it will show eventually. What matters as far as title is concerned is not what the tax office says, but rather, is that deed recorded?
That's a great question, even a better answer. I'm glad Russ is here.
Yes, thank you.
I would have had to cut the live feed for that one. So I would say another thing that comes up is the benefit of owning versus renting. And I want to show you guys something really crazy that'll blow your mind. So these payments I showed you include your taxes and your insurance and everything. So what if I told you that in this payment, your interest, your property taxes, and even your mortgage insurance in some cases is all tax deductible? Meaning, what if I told you on $300,000 when you file your taxes is going to save you about $4,000 to $5,000? For simple math, let's use $5,000, or let's use $6,000 for simple math, right, Greg? So that's what? If you divide that by 12, what, $500 a month? So what if you took $500 off that payment? So for $300,000, you're technically living there for $1,600.
That's pretty nice.
So
Absolutely.
to tell me you're going to build equity in a house and save all this is crazy. And listen, I know what some of you guys are thinking, renting versus owning. Oh, the market, I don't want to buy a home right now, prices are at the top, you know, whatever. Listen, I bought the same thing 4 years ago. I built a new house. It was a sharp-built home, and, you know, we went a little crazy at Design Center. It ended up, you know, the most expensive in the neighborhood. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to lose when I sell this home. 4 years later, I could probably sell that home and make over $100,000 in 4 years. And the whole time I bought it, people were like, you don't want to be the most expensive home in the neighborhood. Now look at it. But I had those fears, and I think people have those fears. They think prices are going to go down.
Right.
And Greg has all the data, can share with you. Supply is so few far in between that. When's the best time to get in? Right now.
Right now. And you're absolutely right with the tax advantages of being able to deduct that mortgage interest. Of course, contact your CPA for guidance, but the tax advantages on deductions for mortgage interest, the taxes, and the
And
mortgage insurance.
tomorrow we have an exact calculator. You can type in everything, what your rent and what all that stuff is, and it will compute everything for you. So tomorrow I'll actually go in and post that in the comments.
Okay.
I'll send up that link to that.
Great. And you know, as you're making those monthly payments, it's not just your mortgage debt that's going down every month. Also, the value of that home is hopefully growing. So that's a great asset.
Yep.
So Abby wants to know what documents she's going to need after she's pre-approved for a loan.
After you're pre-approved, so we do things a little different. We believe in the fire starts the minute the lead calls, so we put a lot of the resources on the front end. If you look at the top of the Facebook, you'll see all those people up there. Those people are just on the front end of the process, Greg. Those people will get, the second you call, will get all of your documents. So by the time you even get in the car, or meet Greg at a house, or write a contract, we've already verified your income, your credit, and your assets. The only problems you're going to have is your due diligence period to make sure the property is the right property for you and your family. The only loan problems that are really going to come up after that is if something was unseen. I'll tell you, it happens all the time. It is what it is. I always tell people, I don't care if you have a 9,000 beacon score and are putting 99% down. There's a problem somewhere in that loan. We're going to find out the first week of the deal or the day of closing. So really, the only documents you're really going to need are letters, explanations, and little things like that. Abby, great question. Send us an email, and I can actually call you tomorrow and go over that. But if we do our due diligence up front, very minimal.
You know, another point about deciding when to buy rent, if you were making rent and paying $800 a month over 30 years, of course your rent's gonna go up, but assume it didn't. In that 30 years, you would have paid $288,000 and owned nothing. Instead, if you had bought a home with a 30-year fixed mortgage for $150,000 and made similar mortgage payments, you would have, value potential would have roughly been $364,000. So.
And, you know,
Huge.
The crazy thing is when I bought a house, my first house, is I lived in an apartment like a lot of you do. I had a parking deck. You talk about carrying groceries and fighting 5 levels in the parking deck. It's unbelievable the value you get when you move in. You can really sprawl out and you're just at ease.
Yeah.
You're so much more laid back.
Yeah.
At least I was.
Yeah, the ability to make changes too to your home as you decide.
Can I tell you too? I mean,
Please.
my son, when they were in college together here in Atlanta, and we bought them a house to live in while they were in college, and they had a couple of extra rooms that they could rent out to friends. And we're looking at a 3 to 4 year timeline. And some people will go, why buy a house for 3 years if I'm going to move?
Yes.
However, we plan on selling it knowing that we've got a little bit of equity there to begin with, and they practically live there for free while they're in school, and we're going to get that money back when we sell. So the idea of buying a house, I think it's a great thing. It beats $700 a room for a dorm.
Yes.
So
I wish I would have known about saving money in real estate when I was much, much younger. You know, I would like to bring more value to other people's lives. That's why I want to give out as many of these books as possible, because imagine if you go back knowing what you know now.
Yes.
Jeez.
Donna wants to know how she can get her agent to use us.
Her real estate agent?
Mhm.
Well, you just got to call that number up there. If you will give us Donna's number, we'll give her a call. We're pretty good at prospecting. Just show her this live feed, Donna. Hey, Donna.
Okay, it says, Allie, my closing attorney loan officer didn't close out my construction loan. When closed on the permanent loan, when can I refi? Any suggestions?
So basically it sounds like to me they did a construction to perm. They probably bought a lot, built a house, and then at the end, what these banks do at the end, they convert it to more of a traditional loan, a perm loan.
Right.
So it sounds like to me something went a little weird with that.
That there wasn't a closing and that there was no final permanent loan.
Yeah.
It really, that's a hard one to answer simply
Probably
because
some more
you
information
need a
on
little
that.
bit more information.
Reach out to
There,
us.
there are some institutions that do one-time closes, for instance, and so it's hard to have an answer with just those facts. But feel free to follow up and give a little bit more information, and I'm sure that we can come to a
In regards to
answer
the refinancing part of it, how soon can you refinance? Go back to your loan paperwork, see if there's any prepayment penalty or anything. If there's not, you can really refinance anytime.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
can I throw something else out?
Yeah.
Sometimes when you buy a house and you have a loan, if they don't do a certain percentage down, they have an extra payment for a little while. And a way that we got rid of that, I want you to tell them what that
Mortgage
is.
insurance?
Mortgage insurance.
So a lot of people think you have to have 20% down to not have mortgage insurance. These payments up here, I could show them to you probably $200 cheaper by doing 5% down, no mortgage insurance on a conventional loan.
Really? Only 5% down.
Only 5% down. Now, what I will tell you, mathematically, it doesn't work out to buy out your mortgage insurance. 2 things. Credit score, you gotta have at least 720, or it doesn't make sense because they rate the buyout on credit and loan to value. And the second thing is, how long are you gonna live in the home? If you're gonna live in the home over 10 years, you're mathematically better off paying the mortgage insurance because it's tax deductible and all that stuff, and 5% down is gonna fall off in about 10 years. If you're gonna live in the home under 10 years, you're better off every time buying out the mortgage insurance. Because you can actually bump the interest rate up in your mortgage to buy out the mortgage insurance.
One thing we did with our personal home was when we bought it, we knew that it was a fixer-upper.
Yeah.
And we went in and did $50,000 worth of work.
Mhm.
Once we did that, our value of the home increased $80,000 to $90,000.
Nice.
So where we went ahead and we didn't do a refi, we just had them reassess the house and we were able to drop that payment.
So for instance, if you do your loan through Guild, since we service the loan, all you do is basically another appraisal, and they'll drop the MI off of that.
That's what happened.
Great.
And another beauty of doing your loan through Gill when we service it, if the rates ever drop or whatever, they always market the portfolio. And if you could benefit from a refinance, they'll actually reach out to you and do a no-cost refi.
That's fantastic.
So Kevin wants to know, what area does the Hawks team service?
Wherever we can fly, Kevin. We're actually licensed in South Carolina, Georgia, and Alabama. So anywhere in those 3 states, we can actually do your loan.
And it looks like CJ wants to know, if I have good credit and looking for a home, how hard of an inquiry would this affect my credit score?
So how many times do you get that? I don't want to pull my credit if the score is going to drop.
Right.
Now, I would tell you I'm a loan expert, but as far as credit, by no means am I a credit expert as far as that. But what I can tell you is I've probably seen over 10,000 credit reports. When you shop for a home loan, they're going to do what they call a hard inquiry. They're going to pull your 3 bureaus, Equifax, TransUnion, and the other one, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. A lot of times it's not going to drop your score. The only time I see it drop your score is when you pull credit. You see you had their credit pulled by like 30 people in the last 30 days. Then the bureaus are really going to start dinging your credit. But if it's, a lot of people that ask me that question have one inquiry in like 2 years. But if you're going to have one inquiry every 60, 90 days, it's not going to drop your score at all, is what I've seen.
Awesome.
Great question, though. I always get that one.
It looks like Tiffany wants to know, what if I don't have a scanner? Can I come in the office to drop my documents off?
I tell people all the time, the loan process goes way better than if we meet face-to-face. I would love for everyone to come to my office and either do a live face-to-face pre-qualification or bring your documents, or at some point just come in and meet everybody.
And I would say that too on our role. It's great to sit in and meet face-to-face with someone, with a client, to better understand their needs, their wants, their desires. Of course, meeting with the Guild Mortgage is the first step to get that pre-approval and identify your purchase power, what amount. But then after that, a visit with us to better understand your needs, location.
And a real story from that is me and Greg had a deal we closed probably 30 days ago. It would not have been possible to close unless that borrower came into the office. I can tell you that right now. So I think it's super important.
So I think a big issue with a bunch of younger people is student loans. Everyone, myself included, have student loans. Can we still get approved with that?
1,000% you can. I would call in. We have all these matrices and flyers about student loans, but here's the gist of it, and it might change why I'm talking about it. It's literally the hot topic of the guidelines. So they've gone back and forth. So FHA, they count 1% of all your student loans in your total debt-to-income ratio. Another benefit of using Guild Mortgage is on the overlays, because we have all our underwriters, closers, processors in the branch, and we service the loan. So on FHA, we can go up to about a 57 back-end ratio. Most of your banks are going to be capped to a 43. So that helps out FHA. Conventional, we can actually go off the payment on the credit report. So you can go off like an income-based repayment, which is always going to be lower than 1%. And of course, VA, if your loan's deferred for 12 months and 1 day from the day of closing, we actually count that thing. We're really, really good at what we do. I suggest you just call in so we can look at everything, because there's more that makes up a file than student loans. It's just a piece of the puzzle.
All right, we had someone call in and they want to know what they're signing at closing and how long it takes.
Oh, good question.
You know you're about to get the keys when your arm's about to run out.
Well, I would say on average, every borrower at closing signs anywhere from 60 to 100 pages. So there's a lot of paperwork that's being signed. Primarily, we're looking at loan documents, we're looking at settlement documents with the numbers on them, we're looking at the deeds that I was talking about, we're looking at the security deed, which is the mortgage. We're looking at some legal documents, some affidavits, primarily from the seller, saying that they're not aware of any issues with the title to their property. Typically, a closing takes about an hour. We generally allocate an hour and a half to a closing to make sure that if anybody has any questions, I don't want anybody to feel like they're being rushed or pushed through the system. I think a lot of folks try to do it on an hourly basis, but we'll give you whatever time is necessary. But in most cases, we can be in and out within an hour to an hour and a half tops.
Perfect. Speaking of properties and what people see, Russ, a lot of people always say, I'm scared whoever owns the home is going to lien on the house. Or whatever. Can you kind of explain to them what owner's title is?
Sure. Well, to understand that, you have to understand when we get a contract, It's a binding legal agreement between the buyer and the seller. But what the seller has agreed to do is to provide the buyer with good, marketable, insurable title. In other words, that there are no liens on the property. So we go to the courthouse and do at least a 50-year title search. We go back 50 years, and people think that what we're looking at is the house. We're looking at the land. The land pre-existed that house in most cases. So we go back to make sure that the land title has passed cleanly from one owner to the next, all the way through to the current owner. If we discover any defects, a lot of times we'll resolve them ourselves without involving anybody. It would be done kind of under the radar. There's no sense in alarming anyone that a problem exists when we know that we, through experience, can fix it. However, if there's a lien on the property, then we will find it. It will be part of the courthouse records, and we will either require it to be canceled or paid in full. In order for you to get insurance, title insurance, to get that protection, I have to look at the title, and I have to make sure that it is crystal clear, clean, and without defect. When you get an owner's title insurance policy, that is your greatest protection, that in the future you will not have anyone come knocking on your door saying, I own this property, or you have a lien on your property that somebody didn't pay, but now I'm going to get it from you. With title insurance, you can just shake their hand and smile and say, I'll have my title company contact you, thank you very much. And that will be the end of it for you. So that's what I do. The title insurance is both, there are two different types. There's the lender's title insurance, which protects the mortgage company because they have an interest in that title too. And owner's title insurance, which is your protection. When both policies are issued at the same time, there's a reduction in the cost. But all of these costs are collected at closing and are typically considered as part of your closing costs that will be quoted to you when you get your estimate, your loan estimate.
Can I ask something right here, throw it in?
Sure.
Today I was showing a client a new home,
Okay.
brand new construction. And so he did look at me and say, you know, there's a big list of all the things you have to pay at closing.
Right.
And he said, do I need title insurance? What is that? And I think you just answered that yeah, you need title insurance even on a brand new construction.
Especially on a brand new construction.
I've seen builders buy out lots and subdivisions, knock on the door and say, hey, you bought the wrong lot, this is my house. I've seen it.
Exactly, and I've heard of it. Thank goodness that's never touched me in my office, but on the other hand, those stories do exist.
And the great news is, what is the cost of all this? It's free if you have really great agents like Greg and his team, because they're negotiating that closing cost for you, and it's all built in there.
That's right. There's other things that happen when you're buying new construction. People have been out there working on the property, supplying materials and servicing. And if they're not paid by the general contractor, they can file liens. And the last thing that you want as a homeowner and just moved into your brand new home is to discover that there's a lien on your property and suddenly you're responsible for payment of it. With title insurance, that will not be an issue.
Exactly.
You know, you mentioned your book earlier. I'd also like to offer a free book if you'll reach out to us, titled Your First Home by Gary Keller. This book goes into everything about deciding to buy, hiring your agent, securing financing, of course, with Guild Mortgage. We're about that in here. Finding your home, making an offer, due diligence that we spoke about earlier, and closing. So it's a great book. This is a great book for a first-time home buyer. And if you'll reach out to me through Guild Mortgage, or my email is gregwillis@kw.com. We'll be glad to get that in the mail.
All you do is click on the link in the live feed and get their contact information, and we'll go back and add it on top
Okay,
of the live
very
feed.
good.
Dude, this has been great.
Yes,
Um,
it's fun.
It's fun to answer a lot of the questions we get over and over, and I'm sure a lot of you will have questions when this goes off. We're always available. We want to bring you guys value, help you out. We would like to bring a good name back to this industry, meaning you can get a good home for the right price and get it affordable. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
if you guys need anything, and here's the best news. You can walk over here and bring us those documents, Tiffany. Use our scanner if you're the one who's a scanner. You can hand it to us and we'll do the scanner and copy it. And then once you're pre-approved, we can walk you right over to Greg's office.
Yeah, it's really working out great to be here with Guild Mortgage and with Russell Petersen in the same office complex, and it's working out well.
Mhm.
You know, in my role as a real estate agent and in our role, it is such a fun thing to be able to help in that step to enable someone to become a first-time home buyer. It is, it's a blessing. Really, really enjoy being.
I really enjoy the people that I've heard no from the big banks and other people. I really just enjoy telling them yes.
Yeah.
That's really my real passion. That's what I enjoy. So if you've ever heard that, don't hesitate to give us a call. Numbers up there. I promise you, you can even come in. We'll talk about your situation, whatever you want.
Good.
Well, good. I hope all of you have a great night. I appreciate everyone here. I had to force them here and drag them here. It's our first time on Facebook, bro. So
Definitely.
yeah. Closing remarks. I just appreciate everyone that tuned in. Our contacts everywhere. Don't hesitate to reach out. There's no such thing as a dumb question. Never.
That's right. Absolutely. Dustin, we appreciate you hosting us here tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity to
Anytime.
sit down and visit and talk.
And if y'all thought this was great, fantastic, you learned something, comment below, share it with your friends. It'd be an honor to help them out too. And maybe this is something we brought a lot of value to, maybe we'll do every now and then. I think it's fantastic.
Thank you for being here, Jimmy.
Fantastic.
See you guys.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.